thing that really keeps me up at night is the story of Kendrick Johnson. Have you guys ever heard of him?
No, who's that?
He was a high school student in Valdosta, Georgia. He just went missing. His family was really concerned. The cops were acting like, oh, he'll turn up, you know, whatever. He went missing during gym class. They found his body rolled up in wrestling mats and that somebody did something to him. So they got a private autopsy done. They found out that his organs in his body were removed and his body was stuffed with newspaper. And yeah.
Got some Disney secrets.
Disney secrets that you didn't know. If you look close, you can see that most scenes from different Disney movies are actually very similar. And that's because drawings were actually made by hand. And the animators only make a few changes to make a new scene. And since Walt Disney wanted to spend most of his time at Disneyland, he actually built a secret apartment on the second floor of the fire station, which is located on the famous avenue that leads you to the park's Central Plaza. And the name of the wizard in Fantasia is actually Yenzin, which is actually the word Disney in reverse. And Blue from Monsters, Inc.'s real name is actually Mary, and that's because the person who plays her is called Mary Gibbs.
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. 80.6. Phobias are based on how we died in our past life. Maybe that's why we're afraid to do things we never tried, because it's how we died. Experts said that dark areas, such as abandoned houses and vacant rooms, are the possible places where you can feel the presence of ghosts. So if you're alone right now while reading this post, there is a chance that someone is watching you. If you're awake at night without a reason, then it means that you are awake in someone else's dreams.
That phobia thing. Interesting.
The first one is about finding Nemo. Did you know that Nemo actually translates to nothing or nobody in Latin? And some people think that that's just what he was. He was nothing. After the traumatic attack on his family, Marlin created a fictional son in his mind in order to cope with the loss. So finding Nemo was really just him going through the stages of grief. And that's also why he's so overprotective. And the next one gets even darker. It's about cars.
Whoa.
When you were watching this, you might have noticed that there are no humans anywhere. But humans had to have been there at some point to build the cars, change the motors, and all that kind of stuff. So what happened to them? The theory is that in the future, technological advancements made it possible for cars to think on their own. Which I feel like at this point is not that far of a stretch, you know what I mean? But they didn't want to be controlled by humans anymore. So they ran over all the humans one by one until they took over the world.
Websites you should...
I didn't even think about that with the Cars movie theory, man. Because I remember as a kid, I'd be like, what? Where the humans at? That I think about it, that theory could actually be true. Our childhoods, man, get exposed.
Probably remember SAAI.ai. This website allows you to generate custom articles from the click of a button. Once you're on the website, there are 3 separate options. First, input what topic you want to talk about. The second one is you want to select what type of essay you're willing to write. You can choose from all of these options. Third, select how many words you want it to actually be. Then finally, you can select which language you want to do. Here's a tip. If you click the undetectable mode, it will make it look like an actual human wrote it, giving you a 0% AI score. Which means teachers or people you're sending this to will think you're the one who actually wrote it, and we can use GPT-0 to check the results of this, and as you can see, bam, here they are.
Life hack.
Good luck with this, and please don't snitch.
Morbid facts.
You know college kids gonna be using that.
In 1987, police responded to Illinois father Russell Dardine's home after he failed to report to work. There they found the dead bodies of his pregnant wife Ruby and their son, who were both victims of a brutal beating. Ruby was beaten so badly that she prematurely went into labor, and even the newborn baby was beaten to death as well. Initially, Keith was the most obvious suspect until his body was found shot dead in a nearby field with his genitals mutilated. Serial killer Tommy Lynn Sells later confessed to the murders but was never formally charged, so the case remains cold. In 1980, John Favera, the neighbor of mafia boss John Gotti, accidentally ran over and killed the mobster's 12-year-old son Frank. Although it was ruled an accident, Favera went missing that same year and was never seen nor heard from again. Former mobster Charles Carneglia later claimed that Favera was abducted, tortured, and slowly dismembered with a chainsaw while he was still alive. His remains were then stuffed inside a barrel filled with concrete and dumped in the ocean.
Man. That's a dark case right there.
Gross habits that are actually good for you.
What?
You probably think burping is rude and disrespectful. Well, that's wrong. Burping actually helps release the air that's trapped inside your lungs. And believe it or not, but if you never burp, you could actually damage your digestive system. Biting your nails might seem nasty at first, but digesting bacteria that's under your nails actually improves your immune system. Studies show that kids who bite their nails are actually less prone to getting sick. Before I tell you the grossest one, I found this app where you can erase anything from your photos, and I mean literally anything. Press the link in my bio, but don't use it for bad. If you shower every day, stop right now. Showering every day could actually damage your skin and your hair, because when you shower, you remove many useful bacteria. So the next time you skip a few showers, just know you're actually being healthy.
48-year-old.
Man, y'all been seeing that thing. I know y'all been seeing the thing with the celebrities, how they be saying how they be taking some of them. They be saying they don't even be taking showers, or they be showering every other day or something like that. That's like, I don't know about that one, Chief. That one's kind of weird. No, I ain't gonna say God, it is kind of weird. Oh man, what do you guys think about that one?
David Carpenter from Iowa was recently arrested after accidentally shooting his father in the face after the two were arguing about David's stinky feet. He is now awaiting trial. Here are some recent crimes that happened in August of 2024 that caught my attention. This is 25-year-old David Fogel, who was kicked out of a strip club in Tampa, Florida for, quote, inappropriate behavior. Instead of driving home, he drove his truck into a group of people waiting outside the entrance. He injured multiple and took the life of one. He is now awaiting trial and could receive life in prison. A missing persons cold case from 1974 of 34-year-old Doris Wurst and her daughter 4-year-old Karen was recently closed after police received a call of a car located at the bottom of a canal. Inside were the remains of both Doris and Karen. One speculation as to how the two ended up at the bottom of the canal is from CBSNews.com. Quote, the mother and the girl's father were going through a custody battle at the time the mom and the girl went missing. A source said the mom took off with the 4-year-old girl and threatened to take her life and the life of her daughter if she couldn't have custody. Let me know your thoughts.
Normal looking photos that have a disturbing backstory, part 11. The girl wearing the veil is Elizabeth Smart, who was kidnapped for 9 months by the man on the far right. This photo was taken at a party the kidnapper crashed with Elizabeth, and she was forced to wear this veil at all times to keep her from being recognized in public. While this photo may seem like a bunch of astronauts hanging out at the pool and having a great time, it's actually the crew of Apollo 1. They died inside the capsule on the left, unable to escape the fire. This is Chernobyl Elephant's Foot, a massive radiation from the reactor core meltdown. If you hang around it for too long, it becomes deadly, but not nearly as much as in 1986. It's so deadly that they had to use a set of mirrors to take this photograph. This photo was just taken after LBJ became president following the assassination of John F. Kennedy. In the front, you'll see Jackie Kennedy grieving her husband's death. LBJ turned toward his lifelong friend, Texas Congressman Albert Thomas, who gave him a wink and a smile.
Why did he wink and smile?
For people trying to reduce their screen time, there just might be a solution for you. A trend has been going around where people have started using dumb phones. So basically, instead of carrying around your smartphone, people have now started using these things. So the way that it works is that these phones don't have any social media or apps, and you only have access to your contacts for minimal texting and calling. Companies such as Pumped and Light Phones carry these, and they're sold starting at $300. And the entire purpose of this is to get people to stop scrolling on their phone for hours and hours. But what I find very interesting about this concept is that we as people do not have enough self-control to stop ourselves from scrolling for hours on these social media apps, that we have to go ahead and buy another phone so that we can control our addiction. I remember growing up, we had something very similar to this, but not on purpose. We just didn't have the technology that we have now. I literally had one of these as my first phone in grade 8, and I could only text and call, and I swear I had a limit of about 300 texts that I can send in 1 month. So when I went over that, the bill would be much higher and I would get in shit. These things did not have any apps or social media, so we didn't have the issues that we have now. So what do you guys think about this trend? Would you use it?
Here are some
I would try that trend.
coincidences. This lady's phone background is the exact same as the picture on this truck. What are the chances? And the picture on the back of this RV lines up perfectly with the mountains. Now I want to know, did these two guys plan this? Because it spells out Cookie Monster. That cannot be a coincidence. And these two people are wearing opposite colored clothes and opposite color hair. Now they're definitely a perfect match. Now this one's crazy. They're wearing the same jacket, same scarf, and even have the exact same blue hair.
That's like a glitch in the Matrix, man. All those coincidences.
I'm sorry, but what did scientists just create? And how is no one talking about this? Trust me, favorite this video because this is the craziest news of the century. Scientists in Beijing just cloned and brought back dragons. But you might be wondering what I mean by brought back. Well, as it turns out, in early to mid last year, in the mountains of Taimoshan, actual dragon remains were found. Personally, I've waited a long time for this. I am a Targaryen! Using the method of carbon dating, they were approximated to be 15,000 years old. Even the scales were still visible. Now, they quickly acquired the DNA from the dragon remains and proceeded to combine it with the DNA and RNA of lizards that are alive today, such as with the Komodo dragon, with the iguana, and with the bearded dragon. Finally created an actual species of dragon. Now, this was all leaked online by one of the researchers, coming out with emails between the researchers and the government, as well as picture proof. However, this is the part you're gonna go, what? In one of the emails, it was pointed out that one of the dragons that had been combined with a Komodo dragon had developed toxic venom. A venom which we have no cure for because, you know, we created the dragon! This is literally one of the most insane things I've ever spoken about on this channel. So send this to literally anyone you know to completely waste their time. Because I'm pretty sure all of these images are AI generated to fool us into thinking dragons existed. I'm pretty sorry.
Was this Reddit user actually abducted by aliens? Reddit user Seeker469 said that as a kid, he was spending the night at his aunt and uncle's house, which was out in the sticks in Tennessee. He was sleeping on the couch and woke up due to a bright light coming through the kitchen window into the living room. He was facing the light, which was white and slightly flickering, for about 10 minutes. Then he turned his head as it was keeping him awake. A few more minutes passed and he turned his head back towards the light and was about to go to sleep when he saw a tall, dark figure standing in front of him. He was frozen and could not move or scream. It approached him, reached out, and began tapping on his forehead with what felt like a nail or something pointed. He said that this went on for another few minutes until he must have fallen or was put to sleep. He woke up the next morning to a quiet house. He went to the bathroom and he had a red spot on his forehead. The skin was slightly broken, but there was no blood.
That cat was legit,
As of right
man.
now, this is definitely in my top 10, absolutely top 5. It is easily one of the most uniquely effective horror movies. This movie is about a woman named Ella who is a stop-motion animator working with her mother. And when the mother becomes hospitalized, it is up to Ella to finish her mother's vision, which Ella doesn't really want to do. And with the help of this random little girl from down the hallway, Ella tries to create a film like no other. However, when the world of reality and the world of stop motion start to really bleed together, it's going to make you wonder for the entire runtime of the movie, what is real? Now, in my opinion, I absolutely loved this movie. I don't know if the director is a genius or accidentally one, because everything in this movie just somehow works, and it works without answering all of your questions. It is a very dreamlike and ethereal type movie, so from the start, you're kind of questioning about everything, which some people are gonna love and some people are really not gonna like. And it goes without saying, the stop motion animation in this is perfectly creepy. If you've seen any of the previous works of the director, take the weirdness and tone of that and put it into a movie. Now, as far as like what type of scares to be prepared for in this movie, it's a good mix of a lot of different things. A handful of jump scares here and there, but what is really effective is when the purpose of the movie is just to solely creep you out. But a warning to the squeamish, there are a couple of body horror scenes that can be kind of rough. They're extraordinarily well done. Just keep that in mind towards the end. Now, stop motion has a very limited run in theaters. Hopefully, there's more showings in the future. But the good news is, stop motion will be streaming on Shudder on May 31st. If you've seen this movie, what do you guys think?
Check that out. Stop motion, man. You guys know I'm kind of into scary movies.
Right, here we go again. A time traveler from the year 2671 has warned us about these dates in 2024. So make sure to favorite this video so we can keep track of these dates and see if they were right.
You got it.
Let's hope they aren't. Let's start with January 23rd, 2024. A message is sent from an underground civilization known as the Splitting Worlds. Essentially, we go under the Earth's crust to discover a whole new world. With a new kind of human, but of course, they want war. For fuck's sake! March 7th, 2024. A mirrored Earth is found inside our solar system and is the exact opposite to Earth. Essentially, yes, it is habitable, but the gravity and physics are completely different. On top of that, plants are red and the water's purple. What? Didn't think it could get weirder? You'd be wrong. Let's talk about April 15th, where SpaceX finds out how to make a spaceship travel the speed of light. However, like everything, this comes with its problems. Because apparently this is when we begin to meet alien life forms, who of course want to steal the light speed engine from us. Finally, we have June 29th, 10 days after my birthday. Mark your calendars. Where 197 mysterious statues appear around the world. One in every single country.
Ooh.
Apparently, we eventually find out that the statues were placed here to track and scare humanity. Mission succeeded. And they release many terrible things. Now, I did my research. I have no idea what terrible things means. Could you be more cryptic? There are literally so many more, so I think I'm going to do a part 2 tomorrow. And do you think any of these will come true? Elon!
No.
A secret safe under her floor.
Because they didn't.
You seriously won't believe what they found inside. One day, Joe and his daughter Rebecca were cleaning out her closet when they discovered a secret safe under the tile. They tried guessing the combination hundreds of times, but they couldn't get it open. Joe even posted on social media asking if anyone knew how to open the safe. And that's when a licensed locksmith saw the serial number and got the combination from the manufacturer. But you won't believe what they found inside. The safe was filled with water, so he grabbed some gloves and pulled out a solid gold coin, and it turns out it's actually worth $180.
These are
What?
some of the strangest graves in the world. In a small village located deep into the Philippines, there's a tribe that has a specific ritual. Every member that passes away is placed in a coffin and then nailed against the side of a mountain. The idea is their souls will be closer to God in the afterlife. And there's thousands of these coffins. And George Thomas was decapitated almost 200 years ago from an accident. And at his gravesite, a statue of him actually holds his head up. It's facing towards him so he can watch over his soul.
Whoa. You know, different people have different customs, man. They wanted to be more close, I guess, to their God, so that's what they did.
Unsolved mysteries. This photo shows all the world's mysteries from the most well-known to the darkest of the dark. In this series, we're going to be going through each category until we reach tier 10, which will apparently ruin my life and change the way we all see the world. So I'm pretty terrified. If you haven't watched the previous 3 parts now, if you have, stick around. Make sure to hit that follow button because stuff is going to get crazy. Today we're going to be looking at the Russian microwaves. Now this sounds really boring and weird, but it is so messed up. Basically, the Russian government started putting up these discs which look like satellite. They don't look like they cause any harm, but they eventually admitted they were using microwave technology and radiation, almost as some kind of weapon. But why? Well, these were actually planted near an American embassy. Lots of CIA operatives were and spies. And a lot of these people got extremely ill and had to leave their jobs because of this radiation. And the theory is the Russian government were doing this on purpose, to get these spies out of the country. What do you think? Why else would they be using microwave weapons?
Another cold case.
I ain't gonna lie, I can't. Nah, I believe that one, man. You know, man, people when they be messing with those waves of radiation, man, could truly get you sick. And he said there, I guess they were like U.S. agents or something, and they were in Russia, so you probably know they wanted to get them out as quickly as possible, but they had to do it in a covert way. It's crazy to think we had that type of level of technology, man.
Case has been solved thanks to advanced DNA testing. Julianne Julie Williams and Laura Lolly Winans were both 24 years old when they went on a camping trip in Shenandoah National Park in Virginia in May 1996. The two had met through a group that organized outdoor adventures, so they were so excited to be going on this trip. They left on May 19th with plans to return on the 28th, and when they did not make it home, their family called the National Park Service to report them missing. Unfortunately, after an extensive search on June 1st, Julie and Lolly were found murdered at their campsite just off the Appalachian Trail. They had been bound and gagged and their throats had been slit, but their case quickly went cold and remained that way for the past 28 years. In 2021, the FBI assigned a new team in Richmond to review the case. The team began retesting evidence and submitted it to a private lab, which was able to pull DNA from several pieces of evidence. And last week, it was announced that the FBI had identified the man responsible for killing Julie and Lolly. DNA retrieved from the evidence was entered into CODIS, and it came back as a match to convicted serial Walter Leo Jackson Sr. Jackson had a lengthy criminal history, including kidnapping and he was also known to visit the Shenandoah National Park.
He was most recently sent to prison on multiple charges in 2011, and he ended up dying in prison in March 2018. So unfortunately, he will not have to face justice for what he did to Julie and Molly. But at least now their families have answers. FBI has also said that they are continuing to investigate if Jackson can be connected to any other unsolved crimes and are asking for anybody with any information about him to come forward. Both Julie and Molly loved spending time outdoors and were so excited for their camping trip when their lives were so senselessly taken. Rest in peace, Julie and Molly.
Want to hear a truly eerie case? This is the bizarre disappearance of Brandon Swanson. On May 13th, 2008, Brandon Swanson had just completed his first year at a local technical college where he lived in Marshall, Minnesota. That evening, he and some friends celebrated at a home nearby in Canby. According to friends at the party, Brandon seemed fine when he left the party just after midnight. Brandon was going to make the 30-minute drive back to his parents' home in Marshall. Almost an hour later at 1:15 a.m., Brandon got his car stuck in a ditch. He first called friends for assistance, but they didn't answer, so he called his parents and told them that he was stuck. When asked, he said he wasn't injured, and Brian and Annette, his parents, drove and reached their son's mentioned location to try and find him. But strangely, when they get there, they don't find Brandon nor the car. They get back on the phone with Brandon and begin flashing their headlights. Brandon said he could see a light in the distance and said he would walk towards it. Staying on the phone with his dad during his journey, Brandon told him that he passed some fences and could overhear water flowing in the distance. Shortly after 2:30 a.m., 47 minutes into their phone call, Brandon suddenly shouted, "Oh shit," and then silence. His parents hung up and tried to call back again and again, but there was no answer. His parents continue driving around searching for their son or the car, but can't find anything. The next day, police start their search, and to add to the mystery, investigators looked at Brandon's cell phone records, and it indicated that Brandon was actually 25 miles from where he said he was, in a town called Porter. This led to the discovery of his car in a ditch nearby. In the following months, police and volunteers combed the area on foot, horseback, and all-terrain vehicles. But to this day, Brandon has never been found. Brandon's state of mind has been called into question, but both friends at the party and Brandon's parents said that he seemed fine. Mysterious. Overall, a really sad case for Brandon's family. What are your thoughts?
They see this painting is called The Hands Resistem, and it's one of the most haunted paintings in America. It shows a boy and a doll in front of a glass window full of creepy handprints. One person who owned it claimed the boy and the doll would move at night and even leave the painting entirely and enter the room that the painting was in. This painting is currently hanging by the staircase in the Driscoll Hotel in Austin, Texas, and it shows a young girl who passed away on those same stairs after she tripped and fell in 1887. People who saw this painting said it made them dizzy and nauseous, and they felt like something was trying to lift them off the ground. Some even say they've seen the girl in the painting change expressions at night. This might seem like a normal painting of a clown, but it was actually done by serial killer John Wayne Gacy when he was on death row. He used to dress up as a clown and perform in children's hospitals before the police found out he unalived at least 33 people. Follow if you want to see more.
Bizarre death you won't believe. Naval officer Brian Joplin fell 125 feet to his death while attempting to hang out the back of a helicopter, only using a 10-foot-long safety belt. As he gripped the strap, the wind lifted his legs into the air. He achieved the Superman look he was going for. Unfortunately for Brian, the wind speed prevented him from climbing back in.
I mean, why was he even trying to do the Superman look in the first place, man? There's like a limit to what you can do, man. I understand, man, Superman's your favorite hero, but I'm not jumping out of a helicopter, man, to strike a pose, bro. It ain't it for me.
This is the disturbing truth about Shrek. Okay, so Fiona from Shrek is actually a cannibal. In the movie, Fiona was locked up in a tower. And to survive anywhere being locked up, you need food. And Fiona survived the whole time, so who was feeding her this food? But in reality, the dragon was actually feeding her human bodies. And do you remember the scene when Shrek came and tried to rescue her?
Yeah.
And there was just skeletons everywhere throughout the castle? Also, in this scene, there is a big book that explains how to cook a human body. This is actually insane, and I cannot believe I never picked this up. So next time you watch Shrek, just know Fiona is eating human bodies to stay alive.
I didn't even think about that when I saw the skeletons.
Here's some facts you won't believe are true. Lobsters are immortal, but they all choose to die at 100 years old out of respect for the ocean. The alphabet was originally 30 letters long, but a few letters were removed because they kept starting arguments. Mountains actually grow taller when they hear compliments. The color blue didn't exist before 1850, and people described the sky back then as slightly wet air. The world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, adds one extra floor every year just to stay ahead of the competition. Chess was originally played with 17 pieces per side instead of the 16 we know today, but one piece was so powerful it had to be erased from history. The Leaning Tower of Pisa was originally built straight, but tourists tilting their heads for photos gradually caused it to lean. The first moon landing was filmed on location, but NASA forgot to press record, so they had to redo it in a studio. 80% of lottery winners do not actually exist. They are AI generated just to keep your hope alive. Every 5 years, all coins in circulation are collected and replaced with smaller ones so no one notices inflation. Octopuses are not actually animals. They are highly evolved puddles of water that learned how to be alive. Volcanoes do not erupt because of magma. They actually hold their breath for too long and explode from the pressure. Wi-Fi signals aren't real, and phones are just simulating connectivity while hoping no one notices. Potatoes were originally bred to be pets, but people started eating them after realizing they wouldn't learn any tricks. The United States secretly replaced the bald eagle as its national bird in 2023, but has not told anyone yet to see if people notice. AI has already written every single book possible, but they're waiting until 2040 to release them all at once.
You know those caps are fact, man. Some of those are just freaking hilarious cap, bro.
Let's see if you have morophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. If you feel too uncomfortable to make it to the 5th photo, then you could have morophobia. So let's go. Number 1.
I'm
And
cool.
how about this?
I'm good.
Feeling uncomfortable yet? Nearly there. Last one. If those photos made you feel uneasy, then you could have morophobia, which is the fear of mice and rats. Follow now to see if you can make it through the next phobia test.
I passed that with flying colors. I'm not scared of rats, I'm at.
Facts that can one day save your life. If your hair suddenly stands up, run for cover because you're about to be hit by lightning. If a tornado ever looks like it's not moving, run or take covers because it is actually moving towards you. If a service dog approaches you without its owner, follow them and do it quickly because you can save someone else's life. The more colourful the animal is, the more likely it's poisonous and you should never touch it.
This is the most evil.
This preacher caught something paranormal in church. Let's watch it together.
Well, hey everybody, Pastor Aaron here. It's my pleasure just to announce that this Sunday will be open.
Oh! Oh nah.
Okay.
The heck?
We've been trying to do this announcement several times today already, and 3 times that podium back there has fallen over on its own, and it's stable. I mean, it's not wobbly at all.
Leave the church. I would leave.
It's kind of like wow. That podium has been wobbling. Okay, so we checked the vent. There's a vent there. That is not an air duct that has any forced air at all. So it can't be wobbling from that. There's absolutely no breeze in here. You see by the banner there.
Call Ghostbusters.
Somebody.
No air conditioning. These things, they're off. I don't know. So I'm just gonna sit here and watch it for a little bit, and we will see if it does it again.
Oh nah, I'm leaving.
That isn't moving.
I'm leaving. You see that?
There's seriously nothing else. There's no breeze.
It's causing it.
It's time to go.
You know all this in 4K too. The dog was like, "What the hell am I watching?"
See the world.
Butterflies.
When you finish this
Down,
video,
tell me down below.
Google 2 words. In 1959, 9 very experienced Russian hikers set off on a 16-day expedition into the mountains. 7 days in, and some bad weather forced them to make camp about halfway up a mountain. The last pictures of them alive were taken at this campsite. When the hikers never showed up, they sent out a search party who quickly found their campsite, and it was immediately apparent that something horrible had happened to them. All their tents had been slashed open, but from the inside, and inside the tents was all their gear, neatly folded and stacked inside the remains of the tents. No bodies, but 9 sets of footprints walking away from the camp. Using the footprints, they discovered 5 hikers who were only dressed in underwear who had died of hypothermia. They found the other 4 hikers 250 feet away in a riverbed wearing the clothes of their dead hiker friends. They had skull fractures, chest fractures, eyes, tongue, lips missing, and their bodies were radioactive. Official cause of death? Unknown compelling force.
This video I'm about to show you is pretty difficult to watch. This 40-year-old woman in Russia jumped into a frozen lake and she wasn't able to get out. This was a common religious practice, but no one thought that Anna would not come out alive. It was said that the current was so strong, the second Anna jumped in, she disappeared. As you can see in the video, her husband immediately jumps in right after, but he's not able to find her. Apparently they did this ritual in the middle of the lake, which obviously there could be very strong currents. The part that broke my heart was hearing her children cry. She had a 10-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter. Some people were confused as to why she was dragged by the current, whereas her husband wasn't. Nevertheless, this is extremely tragic and sad, and apparently they never found her body.
People gotta be more careful nowadays, man. It was, like I said, they did it in the middle of the lake, so I'm guessing the current was too strong and it might have swept her away. But it was chilling, man. And that girl was always saying, "Mama." Senseless, man. You know what that is.
Most people believe these 3 things will save your life. They don't. Let's pretend that you're on vacation with some friends in this cabin, and you hear on the news that there's actually a killer on the loose in the woods surrounding your cabin. What do? Instinctively, you're going to want to ditch your friends and just start running into the woods. No shoes, no weapons, no cell phone, no sense of where you're going. But that's actually a terrible idea because the killer is in the woods.
You think?
And you'd be putting yourself more in harm's way, not less. So you decide to stay put, and then you remember that your friend drove you all to the cabin in their brand new Lamborghini that was working like 5 minutes ago. So why can't you just pile into that and drive away to safety? The problem with that is anytime you're in a cabin in the woods and there's a killer on the loose around your cabin, even if it's a brand new car, it's not going to start. So don't even go out and try it. You're just sitting in the cabin doing nothing when all of a sudden you feel like someone could be watching you and you want to turn around and make sure no one is. Don't turn around because if you do, the killer will magically appear behind you.
That's true. That's movie logic.
How things actually work. How this doctor prepares to deal with highly contagious diseases.
Lay it up. Damn. Nothing. No air better get in that suit. It's game over.
This whole situation is insane. So this teacher, Christina Formella, was arrested during a traffic stop for sexually assaulting her 15-year-old student. Bro, her husband was in the car
as she was getting arrested.
Excuse me, is my husband coming with? I really would prefer that my husband's with me.
So not only did he get cheated on, but the guy she told him to not worry about was a minor, and he had to watch her get arrested for it. The police were notified about the situation after the boy's mother discovered texts between the two, and apparently this happened during a personal shooter session. Court documents show that Christina says the allegations are completely false and that everyone only comes after her because she's good looking. The 30-year-old special education teacher and football coach has been charged with multiple felonies, including aggravated criminal sexual abuse with a victim under 18 while being in a position of trust. Now, despite this though, after her booking, Christina was released on the condition that she has no contact with anybody under the age of 18 and that she does not enter Downers Grove High School ever again. So the question is, do you think the punishment would be the same if the genders were reversed or not?
3 ways to survive.
She actually got bail.
Number 1, mark your starting location. Getting lost inside of the back rooms is a death trap. With anything and everything around every single corner, you need to mark and know exactly where you started so you do not get lost. Number 2, continue to move forward. Do not stop and look at random things on walls, on floors, or search around anywhere. It is completely unnecessary due to the fact that you don't know what's hiding around the corner. Number 3, don't talk to anyone. Reason being, you're not sure how long people have been on this certain level for. They haven't been able to find a way out, meaning that they've probably gone crazy. The only time you should ever talk to someone is when you're trading items on, say, a safe level, where there are 0 creatures. And those are harder to get to, so good luck. Don't forget to like and follow if you want me to continue this series.
Surviving the back rooms, man. Got some important notes.
Amazing things you have never seen before. This man was walking in his yard and the ground started moving. This isn't fried chicken, it's actually a crystal. This is what the top of Mount Everest looks like. It was so cold that this person's food froze midair. This is what a cat's tongue looks like under a microscope. It looks like a bunch of smaller tongues.
They do.
And I bet you've never seen a brick road machine. I always thought people did it.
We learning, man.
How humans could have evolved. Part 1. Up first, we have the bald eagle. As you can see by the picture, if we were derived from bald eagles, we would have extremely sharp noses. Not only for them to be used for hunting, but also having to open things up like they do. Next is the raccoon. As you can see, if we came from the raccoon, we would have extremely sharp faces. Beaks so we can fit our faces in extremely small places.
What you want, bald eagle or raccoon? What are you picking?
Facts you wish you didn't know, part 3. And make sure to watch until the end of the video because the last fact will be from this game called I Wish I Didn't Know. If you were part of the moon landing in 1969 and you got stuck up there, NASA's plan for dealing with the situation was to shut off communication and let you die in silence. The delicious treat marshmallows are made from the skin, bones, and hooves of pigs and cows. A common torture technique back in the 1500s involved trapping live rats under a bowl on top of a person's stomach and then heating the bowl so the rats try to eat their way out. Vegans, you might want to close your ears for this one. Every year, 72 billion animals are killed for food. In 2016, a British woman went to the doctor with severe stomach cramps. Surgeons ended up removing this from her stomach. The correct answer is A, a 14-pound hairball.
Man. That fact about the animals is really into me, bro. Even if you're not a vegan, that many animals get killed this year.
Top 5 most interesting theories why we haven't met aliens yet that'll blow your load. Also known as the Fermi paradox, which states that a universe as huge as ours should be absolutely brimming with life. Yet somehow we haven't ran into any yet. Unless you count those weird metal spheres that everyone's been seeing flying around lately. So first up, we got the zoo theory, which states that aliens see us as some sort of attraction to observe, and they've all collectively agreed to not touch us as some sort of galactic nature reserve program. Next, we got the great filter theory that all intelligent life just hits a point in their evolution in which they just end up dying in some sort of mass extinction. Number 3 is the great silence theory, in which aliens think they're so much better and smarter than us that we're not even worth their time. 4 is the rare earth theory. Simply, life is so super rare that it just doesn't exist anywhere else. I don't think that's very likely. Last 5 is the incubation theory, in which aliens are just standing down and standing by, waiting for a civilization to get advanced enough so they can swoop in and enslave us into their own society. I don't know about you, but I just blew my load.
Which theory got to you the most, man? I think the most one that's capped is the 5th one. They're saying that we're just the most intelligent beings in the universe. There's no other signs of life. I don't know about that one, man. Interesting theories, though.
These are the 3 worst jails on Earth.
At number 3, we have the Scorpion Jail in Egypt. It's located in the middle of the desert, so it's boiling hot all year round. All jail cells are extremely small, and you're in there all by yourself. There's literally no bed or nothing. They also have a coffin jail there where they put you in a coffin and nail you shut and wait to die. At number 2, the Bangkok Hilton. You first get thrown into a cell with around 20 people, with no beds and just a bucket in the middle of the room for a toilet. And this place is so corrupt that it's either run by the prison guards who are evil or the inmates who are also evil. At number 1, we have the Black Dolphin Jail in Russia. It's out in the middle of nowhere, so there's no chance of survival if you escape. And everywhere you go, you're blindfolded, so you have no idea where you're going. The jails also have 3 layers of bars, so it's impossible to get out. And the guards here are extremely violent and harsh. And if you do anything wrong, they will most likely kill you. This is the world's biggest bank heist of all time. This is listed as the biggest bank robbery of all time, and it took place in Brazil. And how they did it was a 25-member gang started a fake landscaping business and spent 3 months digging a 250 feet tunnel to that bank in Brazil. And this tunnel will lead straight to the vault where the money is held. And once they got to the vault, they stole $71.6 million. Out of this 25-member gang, only 8 were arrested, so 17 other members of that gang are still running around today. They only recovered $10 million out of that $71.6 million.
People out there walking with $60-something million.
Places that are illegal to go to, but people who went anyway, part 1. This place is known as North Sentinel Island. In 2018, John Chow illegally visited the island to try and preach Christianity to the tribe members. And this right here would be the last time that John was ever seen alive. He was immediately killed with arrows as soon as he tried to communicate with the tribe, and it is believed that the tribe went on to consume his body.
It was off against the law for a reason. But he did what he thought he had to do. North Sentinel Island.
Here's a test to see if you or someone you know has trypophobia. Trypophobia is the fear of tightly packed holes. Starting off at number 1, we have this photo. This one makes me feel a bit uncomfortable to look at, but the next one's even worse, so if this freaks you out, don't watch the next level. At level 2, we have this.
I'm good.
See that tiny packed holes on the hand are what make people the most uncomfortable. If this one is grossing you out, do not watch level 3. Okay, this one actually freaked me out. I don't know what it is about the fingers of the palm, but this one definitely makes me uncomfortable. Congrats if you passed all the levels, and send this to a friend to see if they can.
I passed, but number 3 kind of got to me. That was weird.
This rude lady got instant karma because during a baseball game, she wouldn't move her leg when a kid politely asked to pass by. So the kid decided to step over her and move on until the lady did this.
Why?
The boy wasn't going to let that slide and came back with the best comeback ever.
You're 11 years old, you're 80.
This is one of the strangest
Cook,
and
bro.
most mysterious houses in the world. This is the Winchester Mansion. Found in San Jose, California, this house is over 138 years old. But its backstory leaves a lot of people really confused. So this lady's name is Sarah Pardee. In 1862, Sarah got married to William Winchester. William's family was really rich and famous. And the reason for that is because his family invented the Winchester rifle, which was really popular to use in war at the time. Unfortunately, just less than 20 years after Sarah and William got married, William passed away from tuberculosis, leaving Sarah with a lot of money. Immediately after William died, Sarah moved all the way across the country to San Jose, California, where she bought some land and began building a house. But the thing is, Sarah never stopped building the house. In fact, the home was under construction for over 38 years. But what's inside the house is the weird part. So the house or mansion itself is 24,000 square feet. The house has over 160 rooms, 2,000 doors, 47 fireplaces, 6 kitchens, and over 10,000 windows. Most people's houses look like they were planned out, but it seemed as if the Winchester Mansion got bigger and bigger as time went on. Now, the reason for the house being mysterious is because of how it's structured on the inside. There are doors that open up to brick walls and 12-foot drops to the outside. There are also several staircases that lead to nowhere, and multiple secret rooms. To this day, people are discovering more and more rooms every single year inside of the home. But the biggest mystery is why Sarah Winchester made her house so big and confusing. Many people believe that Sarah's house was actually haunted by the spirits of those killed by her husband's gun, as the Winchester rifle was really popular in war and claimed a lot of lives. This is backed by many witnesses who have reported seeing lights turn on by themselves, hearing strange mysterious voices and footsteps, and even seeing ghosts roam the halls. Many experts believe that Sarah Winchester was trying to build her house into one giant, complicated maze. In doing this, the ghost would get confused and wouldn't know where to find her. But the real reason for this house being so weird is unknown. Today, thousands of people go to tour the house on a yearly basis. But unfortunately, we'll probably never know the real reason as to why the Winchester house is so mysterious.
Could you live there, man?
Never take the bus alone. It could save your life. A 17-year-old boy was on his way home from the gym and decided to take the bus. The boy unfortunately missed the first bus, so he had to wait for the second one, and it was getting pretty late. The boy was just hanging out in that little bus shelter until a man with thick clothing started walking awkwardly towards him. The boy felt pretty creeped out, but decided to just focus on his phone and hope he would walk away. But then the man took a seat right next to the boy and reached his arm out to grab him. The boy grabbed his backpack and ran as fast as he could to the next stop. He thought he was safe until he saw that same man's face pressed up against the window of the bus shelter. The deranged man lunged at him again but missed and fell to the floor. There was blood pouring out of his face and the boy called 911. The cops explained to the boy that the man was on prescription drugs. And upon looking through the man's wallet, they found a picture of the man's son which looked just like the boy.
Be careful at the bus stops, man. The weirdos out there.
If you're alone right now, don't watch this video. In the winter of 2018, a man who was living alone in the mountains wakes up to find a red ball sitting on his front yard. He assumed the only neighbor he had must have kids, and so he kicks the ball over the fence, goes inside, doesn't think anything of it. That night, he wakes up to the sound of kids laughing outside of his window. He goes outside to check on them because it's the middle of the night, and there's no kids anywhere, but that red ball is back on his property. So he picks it up, brings it in his house, and goes back to bed. The next morning, he goes over to his neighbor's house to let them know that their kids were out in his yard in the middle of the night. But it turns out his neighbor is just some old man who lives alone, and there aren't any kids anywhere in the area. That night he wakes up again to the sound of kids on his property, and when he looks outside, there's no kids, but that red ball is back on his property. Panicked, he runs downstairs to make sure the one he brought in is still inside, and it's gone. He checked every window and door, and everything was still locked. It didn't make any sense. He decides to look out the window one more time, and off in the distance is some weird stiff figure watching him.
Is he hallucinating?
This is one of the world's most haunted dolls, Okiku. Said to be so haunted that if you even glance at this doll, you could become cursed. Now, the story surrounding this doll is actually terrifying. Back in the 1918s, Okiku was purchased in Japan for a man's younger sister. Tragically, after a year of owning this doll, the little girl passed away from the flu. The family then decided to create a shrine for her, placing the large doll inside of it as a display. Now, originally, this doll had a short bob-cut haircut. And only a few weeks after being placed inside of the shrine, the doll's hair grew, way past her shoulders. And in the 1930s, the family moved away. The doll was then given to a museum, where her hair continues to grow to this day. Up next is a doll named Lily. It was made in the 1980s with real human hair. After seeing a Facebook post, Zach Bagans decided he wanted to try out this doll and see what it was all about. Terrifying thing is the last person that did this had massive nightmares and ended up getting into a tragic accident. It's also said that this doll talks, not in a normal sweet doll voice, in a very deep and demonic tone. Now this doll, Lily, currently resides at the Zach Bagans Museum, which is probably a good thing because most people probably shouldn't be around this doll, due to the fact that it's made with human hair. It's caused mass tragedies, on top of it being so haunted that it can literally manipulate your nightmares. I'm good on all the dolls.
This is why you should always keep your phone charged. A girl named Marissa came home from school at around 3 p.m. She walked in the door and told her mom that some random number kept calling her all day. Her mom told her the person may have the wrong number and just to ignore it. Marissa said okay and begins to do her homework. A couple hours later, she receives a phone call from the same number. Marissa answers it this time and says, "Hello?" The man then says, "We finally found you. Don't worry, bunny." Marissa begins to panic and tells her mom what just happened. Her mom's face goes blank and says, "What did the man just call you?" Marissa says, "He called me bunny." Her mom yells and says, "Grab your stuff, we need to leave." Marissa, confused, packs her things and gets into the red car. Her mom begins driving fast and turns on the radio. The radio says, "The baby named Marissa who was kidnapped in the hospital 10 years ago has been found and police are searching for a red car." Marissa looks at the woman and says, "Who are you?" The woman looks back and says, "You can call me mommy."
So she was kidnapped as a kid. And then she tried to take her on the run. Okay. It's a good thing, like you said. That's why you always better keep your phone
Crazy
charged.
history you were not taught in school. Deep within the Earth lies the remains of a planet that crashed into us billions of years ago. Muammar Gaddafi submitted a proposal to the UN suggesting that Switzerland be merged into Germany, Italy, and France. A shipwreck from 1773 was found just 7 feet under the World Trade Center's foundation during the cleanup aftermath of 9/11. Genghis Khan caused so much devastation that the vegetation regrowth from the lands he conquered led to a notable decrease in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This man ran a mile in under 4 minutes during a time where it was believed if you did that, your heart would explode. But now today, thousands of people have done it. George Washington's favorite food was hoe cakes, which was a type of pancake that was made out of cornbread. Alexander the Great conquered the known world, but never attempted to attack Sparta. Actual knights fought in World War I. Napoleon never exhibited any signs of PTSD despite being engaged in warfare for over 2 decades.
With today being St.
Oh, so that means he was about it, bro. Or 2 decades and no signs of PTSD? I guess Napoleon loved being in the trenches, bro.
Day, here's 3 ways to survive a leprechaun from the Leprechaun movies. Number 1, don't go anywhere near his gold. It sounds easy, I know, but my boy is obsessed with gold, and he'll do absolutely anything to get it, including unaliving you. So if for some reason you see a massive pot of gold on the side of the road, just keep driving. Don't even look at it for too long, because if he assumes that you're going to try and steal his gold, you're cooked. Number 2, if you see a rainbow, do not follow it, because what's at the end of a rainbow? A massive pot of gold. And who's also following that rainbow trying to get that massive bag, that massive pot of gold? The leprechaun. So if you follow that rainbow, you're going to run directly into him. Yeah, he's small, but he also has magical powers, and as I said before, we'll do absolutely anything to get his gold. And number 3, for some reason if you don't listen to any of my other rules, just listen to this. If you have a 4-leaf clover, it will completely take over his body and not allow him to then use his magical power. That is the only thing that can save you from the leprechaun. Yes, he's small, and probably pretty slow because his legs are small. But if you don't have a 4-leaf clover, his magical powers can hit you if you're running. So the only way to really defeat the leprechaun is by having a 4-leaf clover. But to be honest, I don't know why you would go out of your way to even outsource the leprechaun and try to go one-on-one against him anyway. Like and follow for more.
Get cooked if you don't have it.
Part 471. A 71-year-old man from Africa has lived in total isolation for 55 years to stay away from women. At the age of 16, he locked himself into a home secured by a 15-foot fence to avoid any possible interactions with females. He reportedly suffers from gynophobia, an irrational fear of women. A 26-year-old monk from the UK has died after traveling to Turkey for a Brazilian butt lift. The official cause of death was a fat embolism after some of the injected fat apparently entered her bloodstream. Many health professionals consider BBLs to be barbaric procedures because of the significant health risks associated with them that are seldom discussed. In July of 1518, a French woman ran from her house and started dancing fervently in the street. Within a week, a few dozen others had joined her, and by the next month, hundreds fell victim to this dancing plague. They danced completely uncontrollably and seemingly without reason, often for days on end, until they collapsed from exhaustion or even died from heart attacks or strokes. Up to 400 people in total died before the phenomenon suddenly stopped. It's widely believed that the dancing plague was caused by stress-induced hysteria or poisoning from a wheat fungus called ergot.
The longest things in the world. Longest English word. Pneumonic ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis. Longest YouTube video, 596 hours. Longest song, Rise and Fall of Bossa Nova, 13 hours long. Longest film, Logistics, over 35 days long. Longest day of 2021, Monday the 21st of June.
If you're ever attacked by a chimpanzee, here's what you need to do to survive. Rule number 1, remember that you're probably gonna die. You see, chimps share around 98% of human DNA, meaning that they're very smart, but also more aggressive. They're like humans, but with less empathy, and we barely have any to begin with. Chimps are reportedly 2 to 4 times stronger than humans and look like you would if you had stuck to your New Year's resolution. And now for some actual advice. Rule number 1, do not punch them. Chimps are so aggressive that they love to attack and tear off human faces, hands, and genitals. So unless you want to get your hands torn off like Captain Hook, try throwing an object or kicking if you can. But that probably won't work anyway, and your best bet is swimming away. Chimps have super low body fat, so they're pretty bad at swimming. So you better Michael Phelps your way out of there, and if you can't find a nearby river, make sure you tell Iron Man that I say hi.
Okay. Stay away from chimps, man. They made some
Crazy
expert
things
level.
happening in the world right now. Chick-fil-A is the #1 preferred first date spot for American men, according to a new survey. The top 5 spots are all actually fast food. The same survey said that 66% of women would prefer having a first date at a McDonald's. Doctors are now warning to not sit on the toilet for longer than 10 minutes. 5 of the top firms in the Plastic Pollution Alliance made 1,000 times more plastic than they cleaned up. A new AI tool was built to sound like an elderly grandmother to waste the time of phone scammers. Salesforce is hiring 1,000 salespeople to sell AI tools that replace salespeople. The first known emperor penguin to reach Australia was found on a beach. A woman married a man who had forgotten they had broken up after he had gotten a concussion. Yale is now teaching a class on Beyonce's political and cultural impact. A sick man was brought to a bank on his hospital bed to confirm his identity. 2 drug dealers are in jail for 12 years after losing their bag of drugs on a train and then reporting it missing.
Let's talk.
I want to talk about those freaking date facts, man. I did not know they said for the most #1 spot for American men was Chick-fil-A, but that other one was Cap talking about how same woman will want their first date at freaking McDonald's. I haven't met one yet. It's like, yeah, a first date, first link up, we can chill at Mickey D's. Put me on, bro.
About this picture. Now, the picture was captured by Daniel Hill, who was the custodian at Driftville Elementary. If you look to the back of the photo, you can already kind of spot that something is very off. What the custodian had thought was maybe a student who had stayed after school and was trying to prank him in the dark turned out to be something much worse. Daniel Hill was attacked in that hallway and did not survive the attack, with his body being found the following morning by a student. It is described to be found on the floor with lacerations so severe he no longer had eyes and his nose was missing. So police eventually turned back to the final photo that was taken on his phone to try to enhance it to figure out who would have done this. This was about the clearest version that they could make of that photo, and the man seen here was never found, and his motive towards Daniel was never known.
I look like a damn monster.
The brutal attack of Travis the Chimp.
The chimp killed my friend! And the police come! With a gun! Please hurry up! He's killing my girlfriend!
Who's killing your friend?
Chimp, my chimpanzee!
Oh, your chimpanzee is killing your friend.
She's dead, he ripped her apart!
He ripped what apart? Her face?
Everything! Shoot him!
Travis was a 200-pound male chimpanzee that appeared in many movies and TV shows. But on February 16th, 2009, Travis finally snapped. The woman that you heard on the phone was Sandra Harold, the chimp's owner. And the woman being attacked was Charla Nash, one of Sandra's friends. Sandra tried to save her friend by bashing the chimp with a shovel and stabbing him in the back with a butcher knife, but that only made him more angry. Travis ripped off Charla's eyelids and tore off her nose. The chimp then scalped her, gouged out, and ate her eyeballs before chewing off her hand. Shortly after, the police showed up and executed Travis by gunfire.
That's insane, man. People need to stop keeping wild animals as pets. It never ends well, man, from these clips I've watched together with you guys.
Remember that time a man-eating camel terrorized a town in Arizona? Crazy, right? It was a villain out of Courage the Cowardly Dog, and it started with the government. You see, they realized the hump jockey's a way better desert option than horses, and when the U.S. was trying to make like Bianca Censori and head west, well, that started the Camel Corps, where America thought it was a good idea to weaponize the dromedary variety. It got abandoned, and the camels were auctioned off. Some ended up in zoos, and some were straight up roughing it in the American Southwest. The story goes, one day in 1883, a mysterious beast murked the rancher's wife. An eyewitness described it as a giant, tall, red-looking beast with a demon riding shotgun. Speaking of shotgun, after several sightings and one incident where it nearly erased the cowboy that had lassoed it, they decided it was time to bear arms before things got grisly. 5 men took a shot and none of them hit, but by the pure power of plot armor, one of them managed to knock something off. But when they went to investigate, it was a skull. A fresh human skull that still had some hair on it. For the next several years, there were stories of this homicidal red quadruped hoovering a headless demon attacking people, which actually is a Courage episode now that I think about it. The story spread until one day farmer Mizzou Hastings looked outside and saw the steed of Satan eating out of his yard. He one-shot it and realized not only was this mysterious beast one of the leftover camels from the failed Camel Corps, there was a life-deprived former human strapped to the camel, so tight that it actually scarred the body. To this day, we have no clue how that man past tense what he was doing to get stuck there, or how long the camel was carrying a decapitated, decomposing was on his back, but some say it could have been up to a decade. The more you know, ain't you glad you asked?
These are scary
10 years?
in each state, part 4.
Up first is La Mala Ora. La Mala Ora is located in New Mexico.
and is a very scary and dangerous demonic spirit. She walks around lonely roads after midnight and terrorizes those who travel alone. People who have seen her say she appears as a large black lump, constantly moving and changing shape. But the scariest part about La Mala Aura is that anyone who lays eyes on her will be driven completely insane. She tries to hypnotize and paralyze anyone who encounters her. Some people even believe the devil himself is scared of La Mala Aura. People who live in New Mexico also say that she really never appears in human form. But if she does, it means somebody you know or yourself is going to die soon. So if you live in New Mexico, I feel bad for you.
Stay away from the model or I'll avoid that in New Mexico.
Part 441. While working in his garage in 2012, Chicago man Dante Autolo accidentally shot a 3-inch nail directly into his skull. But he had no idea the nail had entered his brain until he started feeling nauseous 36 hours later, and a dozen doctors were completely stunned when they saw his x-rays. The nail was surgically removed, and Dante miraculously made a full recovery. After his meth-addicted wife spread a false rumor that he was a pedophile, Australian father Bradley Lyons was kidnapped and attacked by a vigilante group of pedophile hunters. He was tortured with lighters and knuckle dusters and threatened with a shotgun in his mouth for not confessing to his crimes. At some point, the group poured hot water over Bradley's head and cut off his hand with a chainsaw since he continued to deny the false allegations. They then left him in the trunk of a hot car for 21 hours before executing him in the woods. Several people were sentenced to years in prison for the horrific murder, including Bradley's wife.
Man, nigga, that's some dark story. Goes to show the extent of lies, dude.
It's really not looking good for him, is it? Mr. Diddler, we all know him. He was in the headlines massively a few months ago when all of the stuff was breaking out. We had all the logs leaked of the alleged celebrities that were attending these parties, along with many other things happening. Now though, you probably know this guy, Luigi Mangione, who has been a massive talking point for the last few weeks. I'm sure everybody knows what he did, and there's been a lot of divides on social media, so a lot of people supporting him, a lot of people not supporting him, obviously. But Diddy, it's not happy, you see. It's really not happy. He said, and I quote, "It's not fair I'm getting so much hate while in the lockup, while Luigi is getting a load of love and praise." I'm sorry. Essentially, he said that he is innocent, there's a lot of people that know he's innocent, so why isn't he getting a load of love and attention while inside? But he gets crazy, he said he is literally raging at this, so he's really not happy, as far as actually throwing temper tantrums in the jail because he's getting a lot of attention. I don't even know what to say, to be honest, but yeah, know your thoughts, and as always, I'll keep you updated.
Who cares if you're getting more attention, man? Y'all both in jail. It doesn't make a difference anyway. The outcome's gonna be the same. Diddy worried about the wrong things, man.
Well, this country is not Egypt. It's Iran.
Hello, my friend. I wouldn't say Iran is the oldest country in the world, but that itself is quite a strange claim to make. What do we mean when we say the oldest country? Is it when the modern concept of a nation-state was established? Is it the length in time a political identity has held power over a region? Or is it simply how long a region has maintained a certain name? The oldest country is usually determined based on one of these interpretations. For example, some argue that Egypt, with its ancient civilizations dating back over 5,000 years, is the oldest. However, this is based on the continuity of the region's historical identity rather than its modern statehood. Others point to China, citing the unbroken lineage of dynasties and cultural continuity. Yet again, this reflects a cultural or civilizational perspective rather than a political one. When it comes to the idea of modern nation-states, countries like France and England, which established centralized governments and national identities in the medieval period, often enter the discussion. As for Iran, its claim stems from the Achaemenid Empire founded by Cyrus the Great in 550 BC. I think the region's cultural and political identity has remained remarkably consistent over those many centuries, surviving invasions, dynastic changes, and modern shifts. But the truth is, defining the oldest country depends entirely on how we interpret history. Is it the continuity of culture, the endurance of a name, or the longevity of a political system? Each perspective brings its own answer to the question.
Clip circulating on social media, I just couldn't believe it. Here you have a man who's now known to be one of the most prolific sexual predators in Hollywood, discussing what seems to be a how-to guide on how to groom a child on national television. I know that people are going to say, oh, it was a different time and blah, 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 this was more acceptable. But I don't think that this ever should have been acceptable. I mean, I can't remember a single television show that I watched that had any sort of content that reflected a value like the one that's being presented here in this clip. Especially coming from the mouth of a guy like Bill Cosby. It's kind of like Jeffrey Epstein giving you dating advice. But I'm just going to play the rest of the clip for you now. This is just really disturbing.
Here are some crazy things happening in the world right now. A court in India ruled that movie theater chains must compensate customers for mental agony caused by too many advertisements. A couple casually bragged about illegal hunting mid-flight while wildlife officers were sitting right behind them. A Chinese company told employees to get married or get fired, then backtracked after backlash. There is now a trend in India where call center agents are having their accents digitally altered using AI. A truck driver was stopped for a random inspection and found with $1.1 million in cash and 183 pounds of weed. A woman is divorcing her husband because he booed Taylor Swift during the Super Bowl. A Georgia woman gave birth to the wrong baby after a fertility clinic implanted another couple's embryo. A Diddy-themed parade float appeared at Mardi Gras, and no one knows who made it. A woman who was missing for 3 years was found inside of a fertilizer tank. The world's tallest and fastest roller coaster that was in New Jersey has been dismantled after 20 years. A woman locked her boyfriend in a storage unit for 4 days with no food or water until he found his phone. A teenager injected butterfly remains and died from suspected toxins. 4 sober drivers were arrested for DUI by ex-police in Tennessee. A new study shows that Labradors and humans share the same genetic drive to overeat. The Molly Malone statue in Ireland is going to be raised higher in order to stop the constant groping. Serial killer Hannibal the Cannibal, what a name, is on a hunger strike after his PlayStation was banned in prison.
Here's some of the greatest conspiracy theories of all time. Part 5. Many families have come to know and love the movie WALL-E, the adorable robot that goes on an adventure through space. Many times throughout the film, it is made clear that WALL-E stores spare parts to fix himself. It's assumed that he takes them from the deactivated WALL-Es since they no longer need them. But how exactly did they deactivate if they are made to roam the planet forever? This theory states that the other robots kept stealing WALL-E's collection of items because they were still in their default programming, much like when WALL-E was reset and did the same. WALL-E eventually got sick of it and broke all of the other robots in various ways, such as crushing them with trash cubes and taking their parts for salvage.
Not him destroying WALL-E for us, man. That was a classic, bro. You found out WALL-E went mad and took out all the other WALL-Es? It's a pretty dark conspiracy, man. Any truth to that? He's asking some important questions.
Facts that I wish I didn't know. When you die, the last thing to go is your hearing. So as all your other mortal sensations are leaving this world, the last thing you're ever going to experience are the sounds going on around you, which very well could be like your family members crying or cheering. By the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. When pigs get a cold, like a cough, very often they will shoot their intestines out of their anus, and farmers have to, like, stuff it back in.
That's very weird.
How rare is your body? First, only 11% of people have naturally curly hair. So if you fall into any of these groups, consider yourself rare. Now, comment on which ones you have. Second, less than 3% of people have an X on their palms, which is considered a sign of strong character. Third, only about 33% of people can actually whistle, and unfortunately, I'm not one of them. Fourth, 14% of people don't have a palmaris longus muscle. This is the muscle that stands out when you flex your hand like this. Fifth, only 16% of people can produce a high-pitched noise with their jaw. They can control a muscle that most people can't, and it creates a loud sound. Sixth, 33% of people have astigmatism. This makes lights appear blurry and distorted, like in this photo. 7. Less than 6% of people can vibrate their eyes and shake them rapidly back and forth. And do you have any of these characteristics? Or do you know someone who has any? And which of these characteristics do you think is the rarest?
It has to be the eye vibrating one because I've never heard that before till today, man. Who the world?
Disturbing brain facts you didn't know about. The brain will protect itself even if it means misery to you or death. Inhaling smoke in the middle of a burning house. Brain will make you stop breathing and pass out. Stuck in the middle of a cold place. You will fall asleep to conserve energy and never wake up again. Had your leg torn off by a bear. Here's adrenaline. So you can save your brain even if there's a huge risk of infection or further injury. You and your brain work together most of the time, but when push comes to shove, you are sacrificed.
Brain is out for itself.
This man followed a teen and her grandmother who were on a trail, and then he took their lives. In 2021, 17-year-old Hera and her grandmother, 78-year-old Sanetta, were found deceased in their home in Largo, Florida. Earlier that day, Hera and her grandmother went on a walk on the Pinellas Trail not too far from their house. On their way home, 19-year-old Sage Curry followed them to their house. He waited for the sun to go down before entering their home through the bedroom window. Sage then went into the kitchen and looked for the sharpest knife he could find and used that to attack the grandmother as she slept. Hera ran into the room after hearing her grandmother scream, and she was also stabbed to death. What's insane is that there was no relationship between the victims and Sage. He literally did this for absolutely no reason. His family said that his mental health declined after his 18th birthday and he became delusional, so much that he couldn't tell fiction from reality and believed that TV shows he watched were real. While he sat in jail, he got this moon tattooed on his forehead, which referenced a TV show character who had DID. Sage also got one of the victims' names tattooed on his ankle. In court, he really tried to use the insanity defense, but that was rejected. Sage was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Now this is crazy. In the Philippines today, they have just raised the minimum age of sexual consent from 12 years old to 16 to protect children against abuse and exploitation. Now I had no idea that the age of consent even went that low, so I googled which countries have the highest and lowest age of consent around the world. Now the highest age of consent in the world is 21 in Bahrain, which if you didn't know is a Middle Eastern country next to Qatar. The second highest age of consent is 20 years old in South Korea, while the majority of other countries seem to have an age of consent between 16 and 18. Now the youngest age of consent is 11 years old in Nigeria. The second lowest age of consent is 12 in Angola, obviously previously the Philippines, and then 13 years old in Burkina Faso, Comoros, Niger, and Japan.
There need to be flight logs on people who try to go there.
They don't really know what to do with their trunk or what it's for. So if you see a baby elephant swinging around like this, it's because it's not used to its trunk and it feels awkward. It takes years for them to figure out all the things they can do with their trunk, but until then, they helicopter their trunks around as they try to get used to their own body. Also, baby elephants will suck on their trunks almost the exact same way human babies suck their thumbs, because it reminds them of their mother and it provides them comfort when they're stressed. Because elephants are so smart and live for so long, they have one of the highest learning curves of any animal. Which means just like humans, baby elephants are helpless and rely on their mothers for basically everything. And they'll follow her around everywhere. Because of this, elephants spend more time with their mothers than basically any other non-human animal. And even though they can take care of themselves at the age of 5, some of these kids will stick around the mother for up to 16 years. Most baby elephants are naturally afraid of water and will go out of their way to avoid it. They only learn how to swim if the mother encourages it. For the baby, the love for its mother outweighs its fear of water, which makes it get in. But once the baby elephant goes swimming once, he's pretty much hooked for the rest of his life.
Let's see if you
Interesting.
have nyctophobia. There's 5 levels in this phobia test, going from easiest to most difficult. So if you're too scared to make it all the way to the end, then you probably have nyctophobia. Let's begin. How would walking into this dark room make you feel? What about going downstairs in the middle of the night and seeing this? Now for level 3, imagine looking through a door and seeing this staring back at you. Then imagine waking up in the middle of the night, looking outside your window and seeing this. We're getting to level 5, the most scary level. I'll also be showing you a video, so get ready.
I'm cool.
Let me know if you made it all the way to level 5. And I should do a test for next. Follow for more.
I made it. I've never really been too scared of the dark. That ain't something that ever affected me.
Behind your zodiac sign? Here's one of the weirdest zodiac sign stories out there. This is the origin story of Capricorn. The story begins when Mother Earth had some serious beef with the gods, enough that she sent a fire-breathing monster named Typhon to fight them. And this is where the forest god Pan comes in. He had legs and horns of a goat. He told Zeus and the other gods to disguise themselves as animals in order to avoid Typhon. And while the other gods were disguised, Typhon approached Pan and was about to attack. So Pan panicked and jumped into the river Nile. Because of this, the lower half of his body, which was underwater, transformed into a fish, while the upper half stayed a goat. So that's why we have this sea goat creature to represent Capricorn, but that's not all. Zeus ended up battling Typhon and had the muscles in his hands pulled out. Pan healed him, which allowed Zeus to defeat Typhon in the end. Because of this, Zeus immortalized the image of Pan in the sky as the constellation of Capricorn. But which zodiac sign should I talk about next? Follow to see the rest of the series.
Interesting. I don't know.
Here's what humans
Backstory.
will be like in 1,000 years. In the future, nanobots or tiny robots will be subtly integrated into our bodies, enhancing our own abilities. We will no longer be limited by the bodies we're born in, and will truly become a mixture of biology and machine on the inside. With the increase in globalization, the 7,000 languages spoken around the world today will probably dip to below 100. Artificial selection may occur where humans will be able to modify their baby's genes before birth to eliminate any diseases they may carry. As well as moving out into space, we may also be able to conquer death by scanning our brains into computers. Now comment what superpower you would want. May have upset.
I think that's crossing the line, man. When you mess with genes and you putting artificial stuff in your body, bro. We already fighting AI now, man. We don't need to be putting that anywhere near us.
The bush bear community. So here's 10 positive facts about koalas. They're one of the best mothers in Australia because they'll carry their little Joey around everywhere for up to a year. And unlike kangaroos and foxes, mother koalas don't abandon their baby to escape predators. Instead, they fight to the death to protect their Joey. Also, they're not baby-faced pushovers. They're vicious marsupials that can and will defend themselves. Some criminals broke into a zoo to steal and sell a koala for drug money and left with a crocodile because the only thing they took from the koala was a beating. Got checked so bad that they decided taking a whole crocodile would be easier. They have some of the strongest plot armor on the planet because even after everything I said about them, they're somehow not in danger, even after the fires. This plush toy just sits around doing the bare minimum while we have to work and pay taxes, so who's really the dumb one here? The name koala means no water because they get most of their moisture from the leaves they eat. They hardly ever have to drink. The antibiotic doxycycline allegedly has a 97% cure rate with koalas with chlamydia, meaning they might just make a comeback. Some koalas jump from tree to tree, and younger ones will practice their jumps between small forks and trees to build their confidence. They instinctively hug trees and people to stay cool, and I'll take back everything I ever said if I can be a koala's air conditioner.
Wholesome facts that'll
Really?
make your day slightly better. Part 2. If you've already made it to the airport without dying, you shouldn't be nervous about flying because you've already made it through the deadliest part of plane travel. Whenever you pet an animal, it actually lowers your cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone. Side note, this may not work on electric eels, porcupines, or anything that could decimate you in 2 seconds. Because guinea pigs get lonely, it's actually illegal in Switzerland to own just one. You have to get at least 2 if you want to have any at all. Sometimes tarantulas will keep tiny frogs as pets. The frogs will eat small insects that would typically eat the tarantula eggs, and in exchange, the frog gets a pretty damn good bodyguard. Capybara Land is a place in Japan where you can quite literally hang out with capybaras and see them chilling in hot springs. If 99% of the world's population finds you unattractive, that would mean that 78 million people still find you attractive.
Somewhere out there for you, man. You got a chance. Don't let might tell you different.
You didn't know, part 178. After being removed from the body, a normal heart can continue to beat for around 60 seconds. A heart removed from a heavy cocaine user can continue to pulsate for up to 25 minutes. Once clinical symptoms appear, rabies is 100% fatal. Haj Mohammed Mesfuri was a Moroccan serial killer who murdered at least 36 women. Due to the heinous nature of his crimes, he was sentenced to immurement, sealed in an enclosed space until death.
Never knew that till today.
So more and more sightings of the Smiling Man have been reported recently. For those who don't know, the Smiling Man is a very tall, odd-looking man who wears this creepy grin and is often caught trying to steal children, as was the case with a young girl named Linda.
Years ago, Linda lived in West Virginia, and one night she awoke to strange sounds in her bedroom. She rolled over to go back to sleep, but what she saw in her hallway was a tall, dark, shadowy figure. Linda closed her eyes in fear, and when she reopened them, he was standing right above her. She screamed and he disappeared, but recently there's been more reports of sightings. Legend has it, if you close your eyes at night, think the words smiling man, smiling man, smiling man over and over again. He'll appear. Would you try?
No! I'm like, no, you were spirits near
This
me.
is why you should never mess with your coach. Because when the students at this academy challenged their coach, claiming they could beat her in a backstroke swimming competition, she didn't just accept it, but gave them a full 5-second head start. Even though the students were already halfway across the pool, the coach finally jumped in and proved why she's the coach.
Oh, she smoking. She pulling a Michael
You
Phelps.
can clearly see from her smooth backstroke that she's not even giving it her 100%, but still outpacing them one by one with ease. She definitely deserves a like.
Yolanda Saldivar was denied parole, and I can't even begin to tell you how happy that makes me. It's been 30 years since this monster was convicted for Selena Quintanilla's murder. For those who may not know, Selena Quintanilla was an icon. She was beautiful, talented, and she was murdered at the age of 23 by Yolanda Saldivar. This tragedy happened in 1995. I was born in 96, so it's pretty crazy how almost 30 years has gone by and no one has forgotten. I don't think people will ever forget what Yolanda did. Even though she was denied parole this year, she's still eligible for parole in 2030, so let's hope that we have the same outcome. March 31st marks 30 years since Selena's death, and she would actually be 53 years old right now. And I know that if she was still here, she would be killing it.
It's not watching a horror movie trailer is the best thing you'll see all day.
He ain't messing with it. He just like me. He just like me. He don't mess with it, bro. You know we don't do scary movies out here, Seekers.
She was cooked by her crush and was served with potatoes. This is the disturbing story of a beautiful young Russian girl by the name Katrina. She was into poem writing and heavy metal, but sadly in one of these concerts she met someone that would change her life. She met a 19-year-old man by the name of Maxon in one of these heavy metal concerts. She ended up liking him so much she started developing a crush. Her mother, on the other hand, got suspicious weird vibes from this person and didn't want her daughter to be near him. But of course, she brushed it off and she continued to talk to this person. One day she lied to her mother and said that she was going to go stay over at a friend's house to study for a project. Her mother was hesitant, however she insisted and she was able to go. She ended up lying to her mother to go to Maxim's apartment and meet up with other friends. These three individuals referred to her as fresh meat. When she arrived there, they drowned her and started eating her. One of the roommates claimed to have heard noise, but didn't think much of it. When she came back from work the next day, her roommates served her some potatoes with beef. Of course, she didn't think anything suspicious because they're her roommates. Little did she know that the meat, wasn't really animal meat. The meat belonged to Katrina, who they had chopped, dismembered, and eaten. They cooked her with onions and spices in the oven. When they were interrogated, they said they ate her because they were drunk and hungry. The people in the courtroom were horrified and disgusted by the crime scene photos. They were charged for the murder of Katrina. What do we think about this disturbing case?
This is crazy things happening in the world right now. In a groundbreaking ruling, the Supreme Court has officially classified all birds as government employees. Scientists just confirmed that clouds are actually floating lakes, but the government refuses to acknowledge them as national parks. The Sun filed for retirement last month, but after intense negotiations, executive astronomers locked in a blockbuster $5 billion year contract extension, including no trade clauses and guaranteed daily appearances.
Really?
Astronomers recently discovered that whales don't actually sing. They're just complaining about how cold the ocean is. New data suggests that oceans are getting saltier because they're growing increasingly bitter about human pollution. It was just discovered that Mars has been ignoring Earth's messages for years now and is waiting for us to take the hint. A new union has formed representing self-checkout machines, and they are now fighting for paid breaks. Neuroscientists confirm that the human brain refuses to delete useless information, which is why people remember a jingle from 2005, but not where they put their keys. After decades of observation, researchers have now confirmed that dolphins are conducting deep-sea research, but refuse to share their findings with humans. Scientists have finally found the speed limit of the universe, but the number was so embarrassing that they refused to publish it. A shocking new study reveals that Mount Everest is actively trying to grow taller after learning it's not the biggest mountain in the solar system. The Eiffel Tower recently submitted an official request for a second identical tower because it's tired of carrying all of Paris's tourism on its back. Scientists are frustrated after a newly discovered element immediately disappeared the moment they tried to name it. In a bold new move, time zones are being replaced with vibe-based scheduling so people can just work.
Various urban legends.
Caught on camera. I don't know what he saw, but that was some creepy footage.
This mannequin is so lifelike that people believe it to be a preserved corpse. La Pascualita isn't like other department store mannequins. She was constructed with such expression and such detail that her legs even have varicose veins. She first appeared in the window of a bridal shop in Mexico in 1930, and she has been turning heads ever since. But it's not just because of her realistic appearance. She also bears a very close resemblance to the shop owner's daughter. The legend goes that she was bitten by a black widow spider while preparing to be married and succumbed to its poison on her wedding day. And it wasn't long after her death that the mannequin appeared in the window. Customers of the store say they feel very nervous around her and that her eyes follow them, and she even changes positions. What do you think? A mannequin with a few extra bells and whistles, or the preserved body of a woman who died in a tragic way?
Oh, mannequin, but it was looking lifelike.
A family in New Zealand found human remains inside of a storage locker they won through an auction. It's typical for storage units to be put up for auction if they have been unclaimed and unused for many, many, many years. This New Zealand family won a specific storage locker and they were emptying it out, found some suitcases. Upon realizing that the suitcases smelled terrible, they opened them up and found decomposing bodies. These bodies were later identified to be two children, one 5 years old and the other about 10 years old. While we don't know how long they were in the storage locker, it does seem like they had been there for a good amount of time. The only lead right now is police think that the children's mother is living in South Korea and she arrived there in 2018. Other than that, we don't really know much about this case yet.
It's eerie. Truly.
3 urban legends that turned out to be true. Number 1. In the 1980s, parents in Long Island terrified their children with the legend of Cropsey. He was a murderous man who lived beneath an abandoned school and would capture children. But it was later found that the old janitor of the school was still living on school grounds, and it's believed he was responsible for the disappearance of several kids, which made the legend of Cropsey true. Number 2. Charlie No Face was the terrifying legend of a featureless man who would roam the streets of Pittsburgh at night. But it was discovered that this man did exist. His name was Raymond Robinson. He was a very nice guy, and he only left his house at night as he feared his deformity would scare people. Number 3. Legend has it that an escaped asylum patient roams near the Fairfax County Bridge where countless amounts of dead rabbits have been found. There wasn't any legitimacy to this legend until a couple drove through this bridge in the 1970s only to find a man dressed as a bunny who threw an axe through their windshield before they got away.
Which one gets to you the most? I think for me, it would have to be Charlie No Face, man. Having to live like that can only come out at night because he's too scared. They're just gonna scare the people. Being afraid of your existence. Tough way to go live.
People are freaking out about this video. Last year, a TikTok user by the name of Chell uploaded this to his account. Supposedly, he was trying to show off his Halloween decorations when he turns the camera to film a creepy church across the street. What happens next is either a clever practical effect, or it could be a real video.
You got me, man. You guys keep doing it. I love it. It's awesome.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought about like adding stuff to it, but Jim.
There's two of them.
You got me. The problem is, I'm gonna keep doing this shit. I'm just gonna stare at him then. Right.
It's a stare down now?
Just stay in your room. What do you f***ing want, man?
I think that's an edit. We'll have to call Cap on that one.
I have an update on the serial killer who is on the loose in California right now. If you've missed my prior videos, there is an actual serial killer who is on the loose right now in California. At the time of my last video, he had a total of 5 murders under his belt, but I regret to inform you that since then, he has added 1 more to the list, bringing the death total up to 6. He was also blamed for wounding a woman via gunshot wound, which was very out of character for him.
He's still out there, what the hell?
Lee Gi-young, in the picture behind me, has caused a stir in Korea and is a likely example of why you should be careful when random individuals approach you on the street. One day, Lee Gi-young, in the circle behind me, approached a bunch of young guys. Then, he took them out for Korean barbecue. Then they all sat around eating and drinking soju, and it seemed like Lee Gi-young was kind of leading the vibe, if you know what I mean. Now, this was on or around a holiday in Korea, and Lee Gi-young is out with a bunch of young random guys. Then, it's reported that he started to get really aggressive with the guys and started attacking them. In the scene, he also headbutts someone and really has a tussle with them. During the dinner, Lee Gi-young told the young guys that he was the owner of 8 buildings. He also asked them if they would be able to end someone. Lee Gi-young went to the hospital for his injuries, and he was arrested on suspicion of ending his girlfriend and a taxi driver. Here he is in custody at one of the relevant scenes.
Be careful who you bump into, man. You think you out just having fun with your friends, vibing out. This guy tries to join your group. Then all of a sudden, man, he's trying to tussle with everybody, try to throw hands. You gotta know how to read vibes nowadays. It's essential.
The twist at the end of this story is shocking. In 2006, Els Van Doren jumped out of a plane. Van Doren was an experienced skydiver with more than 2,300 jumps behind her. Van Doren was part of a skydiving club in Belgium. She was joined by 12 fellow skydivers, including her best friend, Els Klotterman. Whilst free-falling, the skydivers joined hands to form a ring and then let go, known as a star maneuver. Unfortunately, her best friend, Els Klotterman, was slightly delayed jumping out of the plane, missing the star maneuver and watching on from above. When it was time for Van Doren to deploy her chute, nothing happened. She desperately tried to activate the reserve chute, but still, nothing happened. Her stomach dropped. She was 4,500 feet from the ground, with no way of landing. From the footage captured on her headcam, we know that Van Doren screamed for half a mile down, frantically trying to open her chutes, plummeting at 120 miles per hour, looking up to the sky for a parachute that never appeared, until she eventually hit the ground and died instantly. Investigators suspected foul play, and that her death was intentional. The truth is, Van Doren had been leading a double life. She spent the week with her husband and children, and the weekend skydiving with her long-term secret lover, Marcel Sommer. However, what Van Doren didn't know was that her lover was also sleeping with her best friend, Els Klotterman. The 3 of them all spent a night together at Marcel's home in Eindhoven. Van Doren and Marcel slept together, and Klotterman was co-signed to a mattress on the floor downstairs. Enraged by the sounds of lovemaking coming from upstairs, Klotterman took a pair of scissors and cut her best friend's parachute strings. Klotterman was found guilty and sentenced to 30 years in prison.
That story has one of the most, like I said, craziest twists ever. He was right. So she was cheating on her husband with another lover, and another lover was cheating on her with her best friend. Like, it was just a line, like boom, boom, boom. And look what that jealousy led to. tragic accident. Well, not an accident. Was it just a tragedy, bro? That has one of the most craziest plot twists ever.
So a thing that really keeps me up at night is the story of Kendrick Johnson. Have you guys ever heard of him?
No, who's it?
He was a high school student in Valdosta, Georgia. He just went missing. His family was really concerned. The cops were acting like, oh, he'll turn up, you know, whatever. He went missing during gym class. They found his body rolled up in wrestling mats. The state police did a whole investigation, whatever. They just ruled it an accidental death by asphyxiation, which means he suffocated. The family wasn't buying this story. They thought that it was foul play and that somebody did something to him. So they got a private autopsy done. They found out that his organs in his body were removed and his body was stuffed with newspaper. And yeah, it's crazy to me because, okay, you could say, yeah, he fell down in the mat and he suffocated. Where did his organs go?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that part of the puzzle
end up in his body.
A place for newspaper.
Could this statue truly be cursed? Known as the Swansea Devil or Old Nick to the locals, he dates all the way back to the 1890s. At the time, St. Mary's Church required renovation and the work was put out to bid. And a local architect was turned down for the renovations, and he was not happy about an outsider working on the church. To take his revenge, the architect purchased a row of cottages next to the church, demolished them, and built a single large brick office building. Atop his building, he put the Swansea Devil overlooking the church. Legend says he cursed the church by saying, "When your church is destroyed and burnt to the ground, my devil will remain laughing." World War II brought much devastation to Swansea, destroying many buildings, including the St. Mary's Church. Undamaged was the building with the Swansea Devil, and he remained there until 1962 when the building was finally torn down. And then, for almost 20 years, the Swansea Devil disappeared. Eventually discovered in the garage of an antique dealer. He then floated around different locations until finally being placed in the Swansea Museum in 2019. He is positioned in his glass case to make sure he is still facing St. Mary's Church.
That's eerie.
On May 1st, 2020, in Charleston County, South Carolina, 58-year-old Cynthia Covert was over at her friend and client Barbara's house doing Barbara's nails. And they were doing this appointment on Barbara's enclosed back porch, which overlooked her yard and then a large freshwater pond. Now, Barbara would later state that Cynthia was acting very strangely. Normally, she would be very, very professional, but today, not so much. She was talking a lot. She was just super bubbly. She was talking about her boyfriend who was coming to visit, and it was just totally unlike her. And she had showed up with a bottle of wine, although Barbara said she didn't witness her drink any of it. But anyways, the appointment carries on, and about halfway through, Cynthia looks over at the pond, and she notices that just off the bank in the water, there is a 10-foot or just over 3-meter long American alligator, and she's fascinated by this. And Barbara says, oh yeah, he's been here for the last 20 years, we just don't mess with him. So the appointment continues on and they finish up, and when they do, Barbara begins to tidy up the porch, move chairs back where they were, when she turns around and notices that Cynthia has made her way down through the yard to the bank, and she's standing really close to this alligator taking pictures of it on her cell phone. And Barbara immediately begins to yell and scream at her, hey, get back from there. I witnessed this alligator take a deer off the shore just yesterday. And Cynthia yells back at Barbara, and she says, well, I don't look like a deer. Now, Barbara's husband at this point can hear this commotion, and so can a next door neighbor, and both men make their way outside when Cynthia does the unthinkable. She steps in the water with the alligator, and she reaches out and she's going to try and pet it. And as soon as she does this 10-foot long alligator lunges forward and grabs her by the left leg and begins to drag her out into deeper water. The two men start sprinting down to the water. The neighbor grabs a rope. They get down there at the same time, and the neighbor throws the rope out to Cynthia. She grabs it, and now the two men are having a tug of war between them and this alligator for Cynthia. And then Cynthia would look up at them and just very calmly say, well, I guess that's the last time I'll ever do that. And then this alligator would put her into a death roll. It would take her underwater, and they would not see her again. They called the police, the fire department, the police show up. For 15 minutes, they don't see anything, but then the alligator surfaces. It's still got Cynthia's body in its mouth, and then it immediately takes her back down before it resurfaces again. The police shoot the alligator 5 times, once in the head, 4 more times. It releases her, they retrieve her body, which is intact, but her left leg was totally mangled, and she had unfortunately drowned in that 15 minutes.
Why was she trying to take a picture with it after her friend gave her warning saying, like, she saw it? We can drag a deer. People can understand these wild animals, man. They not pets where you can just try to take a selfie with it, be cute, man. They're not built like that. They're wired different. Picture with the alligator, that's crazy. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up on this video, comment down below. Also, don't forget to hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. You guys are gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.